Today we're going to talk about sharpening on the strip sander. We're going to turn a cabriole leg. We're going to tear down the thickness planer and give it a major tune-up. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about wipe-on finishes and tell you some of the chemistry. And this here, yes, I know, this is Drew's dog Buddy, reminding me to tell you about the safety. When you take the words of wisdom that I have to impart here out to your shop, please observe all common sense and safety rules. Protect your eyes, ears, and lungs when you can. Use all the guard equipment that we send you. Please plug your machines into the required amperage. And because I'm going to be talking about finishing today, it's always a good idea to have a can of some sort that you can cover, like an old 5-gallon potato chip can or something to keep oily rags and that sort of stuff in, because many finishes can spontaneously combust if you wipe them down and bunch up the rag and just throw it in a corner. So, that said, let's get on with sharpening on the strip sander. I've taken the table off of the Shopsmith strip sander and attached this jig here. And this is what we call the Chisel sharpening attachment, but it'll do a whole lot more than just chisels, as I've been telling some of you on the forum. I've got one that's detached over here. I can get it out. There we go. Fairly simple idea, really. You take off the table and you put on an arm with a cup here that can be adjusted up and down for the length of your chisel. When you're working, the base of your chisel sits in the cup, and so that you can put it against the abrasive strip. You can turn it any way you want, and you can adjust the angle anywhere you want. Really nifty. This a gentleman who was a professional carver invented this a good 30 years ago. And Dick Belcher, who is a nationally known carver and a good friend of Drew's and mine, thought that this was the best thing that had ever been invented for sharpening. And when it went out of production in 1980, he told Shopsmith about it. Shopsmith negotiated with the estate of the inventor and finally picked up the patent. And here we go. So, yeah, it just you take off the table, and it just attaches right to the same place that the table does. In fact, once you have one of these, you can easily switch it back and forth between the table and the sharpening attachment anytime you need, as we'll do today here in a minute. I'm going to walk you through doing just a chisel first, so you get an idea of how this works. I'm gonna choose one that's fairly odd. This is a spoonbill chisel. We're going to have to roll this at the same time that we're sharpening it. Now, the nice thing about the chisel sharpener is it keeps this at a precise angle. No matter what angle you turn the chisel at, it's at the same angle to the abrasive. We're also going to walk ourselves up through abrasives. That's the best way to get a keen edge when you're sharpening. You can do it with just one abrasive, but if you go to finer and finer and finer grits, it's like walking up through finer and finer stones. The edge gets keener and keener as you go. And we're going to get this just about as keen as we possibly can. And the nice thing is that as you go between grits, the chisel remains at the same angle. No way to round over the edge as we're going. Now, as with any cutting edge, there are two sides. In a normal chisel, like this, you have the bevel and the back. In a gouge, you have the bevel and the pod. The strip sander will sharpen the bevels only. It won't do the pods or the backs. You need to do and those are fairly simple. You just need to do those with some stones. I've got some water stones right here. This is a gouge slip. I'm going to clean up the pod with a 4,000 grit water stone. Make sure I have a nice shiny surface there at the edge. I don't know why I'm squinting when I have some eyeballs here. This, by the way, is one of the most useful sharpening tools I own. I would rather sharpen on a rock than lose these magnifiers. Okay, that's got a nice crisp white line there at the edge all the way across. Incidentally, if you're wondering whether or not it's time to sharpen a chisel, there is an easy way to tell. You simply take the chisel over to any direct source of light, turn it on the light, get all the stuff off the edge, and look at it under the light and see if that is reflecting any white back at you. If you're seeing a white line there at the very edge of the chisel, that means that the whole edge is dull and it's rounded over and it's reflecting light back at you. If you see white spots, that means you got some nicks and burrs, and you need to, either one, you need to address the problem. Okay, that did the pod of the chisel. Now I'm going to go for the bevel. Now, if this were the first time that I was sharpening this chisel and I wasn't happy with the angle, I'd probably set it to a different angle, and I'd start at a much more smaller grit, or not smaller grit, but larger grit than what I've got on there right now. Right now I've got 320. And for grinding a new angle, I would go down to 150 or maybe even 80, depending on the amount of meat in the chisel itself. It is not a good idea to try to grind new angles or change the shape of your chisels with fine abrasives. The finer the abrasive, the more the metal will heat up, and of course, the more the metal heats up, the more danger you are in softening the steel and losing the tempered edge. So let's first adjust this. The chisel guide. Whoop, the chisel. Yep, live TV, folks. You can see that I am at least as clumsy as you guys are. Maybe clumsier. Come on, there we go. The chisel sharpening guide also comes with a special platen. I'm going to take this off and show you the platen. It's bent out a little bit towards you. This brings the chisel edge out from the strip sander somewhat, and makes it easier to sharpen. You want, when you're sharpening the chisel, to have the bevel resting along the top straight part of that pattern. You don't want it to rest right there at the bend. If it rests at the bend, you'll get a concave or a hollow grind. All right, so we're going to adjust this so that the bevel hits about the middle flat part of the platen. Then I'm going to adjust my my angle to where it looks like my angle. Now I'm not even looking here at the protractor. I'm just looking at the belt and the bevel and adjusting it to where I can't see any daylight in there. Now, obviously, if I was changing the angle of the bevel, I'd set it according to the protractor. But here, I'm going to preserve the angle that's on there. Now, I'm going to turn this on and just touch the chisel to it to see if I've got the angle right. Okay, I did pretty good the first time out. We'll get over here. If you can go to camera 3 for a minute, and let me show. Yeah, there you go. See the shiny spot where the belt hit? That shiny spot tells me that the belt is contacting the entire bevel of the chisel. So that if it had contacted the heel of the bevel, close to my finger there, that would mean that the angle was too steep, and I'd have to make it less. If it contacted the nose, then the angle would be too slight, and I'd have to steepen it. So let's go ahead and sharpen this. Just let's see. I'm gonna MJ, could you take that lower camera 3 a little bit so that they can see the pod as the one, yeah, there you go. That one, right. There we go. Up. We've got some Mary Jane is still getting used to these crazy tripods we have here. Okay. Notice too as I sharpen that the belt is running up. So that this will become especially important in a little bit when we get to the finer grits. There we go. I'm putting very, very gentle pressure on this as I go, and watching the edge very closely, so that it doesn't heat up. If this were to turn blue, I would immediately stop. And right over here, within an arm's reach, I have a pan of water where I keep my water stones, and I would plunge this in. The nice thing about this chisel sharpener is if you set the speed to A, B, C, it's plenty fast for sharpening, but you actually have to work pretty hard to heat up the chisel to the point where you're actually going to soften the steel. Now, on most gouges, you have to dwell on the ears. The nose seems to sharpen quickly, but you usually have a little extra work to do on the ears. And especially here on this, on the right ear, I'm also trying to maintain a nice curve on this nose. That's pretty good for right now. Now, I'm not going to worry about the burrs that are developing right here. Those are going to happen anyway. Let's go to camera 2, and I'll change the belt, or even camera 1. Okay. One of the things I would suggest you to do here's a tip, is I would take apart the top wheel. And what I did is I really thoroughly cleaned out that mechanism that bounces that top wheel up and down. and I waxed all the parts and buffed them. That makes this a much smoother action. Let me hang the belt up. As you can see, sharpening, because you have to go through a progression of grits, it can get to be a real pain trying to keep the belts organized. So I put a little belt hanger on the side of this to keep all the belts straight. I'm putting on a 600 grit. This will do some put a real fine edge on it. Okay. Now, as I work, the way that the back of the chisel reflects the light will change because I'm putting finer and finer grooves in it. I mean, the grit is finer, so the grooves are going to be finer. It's actually going to appear to get shinier. And what I want to do is I want to continue rolling this chisel and sharpening the bevel until the shine is even all across it. That tells me that I've completely touched up the bevel. Okay, now I could stop at this point right here. There's some burrs there that I can see, but I could work those back and forth and get those off fairly quickly. This is a pretty sharp chisel as it stands, but I'm going to go a step further and get rid of the 600 grit belt and get. Whoop, I'll have to put the belts back on. Get a leather strop. You can purchase these leather strops through several of the woodworking companies. They work wonderfully for sharpening. The thing is you don't just need the strop. The strop really doesn't change or the leather doesn't really change the edge at all. What you need is a polishing compound. You do what is called loading the leather, and to do that, that's it. That leather is now loaded with the polishing compound for enough of abrasive to probably do 10 chisels. This is aluminum oxide in a piece of soap. And I like this because of the fact that it doesn't build up static electricity. You should be very careful about buying abrasives that are in wax. This belt will really build up the static, and if you happen to bump your arm against the chisel sharpener attachment while you're doing this, the spark will throw you across the room. It really will. In addition to this sort of polishing compound, I also like this chromium oxide. It's the green sticks. That gives a nice edge also. Incidentally, when you're buying this stuff and you're trying to decide whether or not you should go for the regular size or the big jumbo king size, okay, for us guys who build one-off furniture, this is the big jumbo king size. As a matter of fact, this is the death do us part size. I've had this green chromium oxide stick for 27 years now, and I'm probably have 2/3 of the stick left. Now, you have to make sure. I mean, you can do when you're using the abrasive belts. The abrasive belts can run towards the edge or away from the edge, but not so with the leather belt. The leather belt has to be going up away from the edge if you're going to strop. if you look at this, let's go to the close-up camera again and see if you can see the fact that there you go. Look at that shine. You got a mirror edge on this. That's so bright you can hardly stand it. If I kept going, you could shave in that edge. You could shave with the edge, but you could also see yourself in it. And that is making this about as keen as possible. Now, if we'll come back out to camera 2, I'll show you how we're going to finish up the pod. Over here on this side of this little Mini Mark V, and we'll probably, MJ, if you could take the camera number 2 and move it over so they can see the other side. I'm going to go around the back just so you won't be looking at my back as I do this. Of course, I have to dance over the cords here. And I'll have to pull at least one thing down off the wall as I'm doing it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be me. I've got a buffing wheel. This is a sewn cloth. There's about 40 layers of cotton there, and I've loaded that up with the same abrasive that I'm using on the leather strop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to touch the pod to it. Now, of course, I'll be bringing the chisel under here. You won't see it because it's rolling towards me, but you get the idea, I'm sure. Okay. If you missed it, that was quick, wasn't it? It doesn't take much. I'm going to go now. Now, see what I've done is not only have I buffed out the pod, I've rolled the burr back over towards the bevel. Now I'm going to go back over here to the leather, roll the burr back towards the pod, back here, roll it towards the bevel, pod, bevel, until I haven't got any more burr on there. At that point, I'm done. All right. Drew's asking me where you can get the leather strap. I've seen them at Woodcraft Supply and Woodcraft. If you go into some of the catalogs that just handle abrasives, some of them have the leather strap. You need to be careful. I will tell you this, that when you're done using the leather strap, take it off, because there is a continual tension on this machine. The leather strap will stretch out, and it can stretch so far that the machine will no longer be able to tension it. So only keep it on for just as long as you need it, and then hang it up. Sometimes you can get a leathersmith to make them for you. And those are always better than you can buy. The ones that I have seen that come from the places like catalogs tend to be very thin, and these stretch out way too fast. So what you need to do is get as thick a leather as you can. You can see on this leather belt, I think you can see this if I bring it towards the camera. So that's pretty thick. That's well over 1/8 of an inch, and it's going to take that's as thick or thicker than any belt that holds your pants up. So, but it's going to take a long time for that belt to stretch out to the point where I can't use it anymore. All right. Now, the last thing that you want to do with this chisel is test your bevel. The way is not to run your finger across the bevel. That's just an invitation for disaster, because this is really super sharp. What I usually do, and follow me over here with the camera, and I think that once again, because of the way things are set up, I'm going to have to go around to the back of this machine. There we go. I've got a wooden block in this vise. This is a piece of hardwood, oak. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pod and I'm going to shave the end grain. And as I do so, I'm going to roll the pod so that I use the entire edge that I've just sharpened. And if there is a spot which leaves a line when I do that, or it seems all of a sudden the chisel halts as I do that, then that is no. See, right there, I'm feeling some toughness, and if I feel with my fingers and I look at it, yep, I could that part of the edge is showing a little light, and I could probably use to do a little more work on it. But see, that part of the edge is just shaving just beautifully. So you test the edge. Also, shaving a piece of end grain like this will tell you if you got the bevel too steep. And I'm beginning to think, because of the way a burr is developing just in this short time, that bevel is way too steep. For hardwood like this, you don't want it any steeper than 30 degrees. If you even 35 would be better. Anything less than 25, and you really risk rolling the edge and it going dull very fast on you. All right, that's it for chisels. You can see how you do an ordinary chisel. I'm going to, however, jump off of chisels and do a plane iron. They tell you this thing is for chisels, but it will do plane irons just fine, and I'll show you how. Now, the first thing that you need to do when you're doing a plane iron is you need a reference line. The plane iron, even though this is just out of a small low-angle block plane, the plane iron is there we go. Has a square edge, and it is wider. That's wider than the strip sander itself. So that means I'm going to be rocking this back and forth like this as I sharpen. That rocking motion is naturally going to put a curve in the plane iron. It'll put a nose on there on the bevel, and I don't want a nose. I want to preserve that straight edge, which means that I'll have to do the edge bevel, come dwell longer at the nose, go and do the left corner, dwell on the nose, right, and back and forth like that. So what I'm going to do here, if you'll take the Buddy's bothering customer service here. If you'll take this down a little bit so that I can show them what I'm about to do here on. Okay, can you get lower that? Now, get over here, get on that bevel. Okay, there we go. I've got a carbide scribe right here, and I'm going to actually scribe a reference line. You may have to follow me here. There we go. I'm going to scribe a reference line parallel to the edge. This is the line that I want to follow when I'm sharpening. this line this far back will not affect the action of the chisel. In fact, I've got that deep enough that it here, back to camera 2. Got it deep enough that it won't even go away when I treat the back. I'm going to do the back the same way. I'm just going to use a water stone. I've sharpened this plane iron many times, so the back ought to yeah, it's coming along real fast. You don't when you first get a plane iron and you want to flatten the bevel, sometimes it takes a while, but once you get it there. Incidentally, if you're using water stones, be aware that the medium in which the abrasive is embedded is clay. It's very soft, and you want to use the entire stone if you can. Otherwise, the stone will eventually become dished, and once the stone becomes dished, then the back of your plane iron is no longer flat. Okay, that's pretty good right there. All right. I need to have something to dry this off. I'll do what woodworkers do everywhere and just use the shirts. Okay. Now. Okay, let's come back to the strip sander, guys, and I'll show you how you do a plane iron on a on number 2. Okay. Oh, talk with that one. Okay. Getting instructions from my producer here. I'm going to mount the plane iron in a vice grips like that. That artificially turns it into a chisel, and I now have the chisel plane and the bevel, and the end of the vice grips is going to fit right in the bottom of that cup very nicely. Now, I want to make sure that this is tight enough that isn't going to move when I'm doing this. And actually, it feels a little loose to me, so I'm going to open this up, adjust the screw, and clamp it again. That's much better. Okay. Let's start with 320 again. Same drill. We're going to go from 320 to over here. Move the camera. Go from 320 to 600 to the leather strop. To save time, I'm just going to do a touch-up here. I told you I was going to reach for the 320, and I misspoke. What I've got on here is the 600, and I'm just going to touch up the bevel. We've got to find our angle. Do this the same way that we did for the chisel. Touch it. Okay. Now in this case, I have the shiny spot is appearing on the heel of the bevel, so it is not. It needs to be a little bit shallower. There we go. Shallower yet. Okay, now we'll do the leather strop, and incidentally, these leather strops do come with arrows on the inside. They only run in one direction, unlike the abrasive belts, and you do have to pay pretty close attention to those arrows when you put these on. Also, depending on the thickness of the leather strop, you may have to remove a little meat from the case, the plastic case of your strip sander. It may rub right here where the door closes. Okay, that's looking good. Let's go over here to the wheel. Back and forth. Okay, couldn't be much nicer than that. It sure looks nice. Let's go over here to the piece of wood and see how it's cutting. Be patient, folks. They're getting the camera adjusted. Good. Looks good. That's one. Now, the last one that we'll do is a scraping chisel, and I had one sitting right here. Now this, the bevel of this is at 75 degrees because it's a scraper, and because of that, we can't do this on the chisel sharpener, but we can do it on the strip sander with the table and a block of wood. If you look at the blackboard, you'll see that I've posted something called the strip sander sharpening block, and all that is just a block of wood, got it right here, that we're going to mount to the table. Okay, the back is done. Now let's do the bevel, and you'll see how easy it is. Oof. I'm really making the camera folks work today. All I'm going to do is just loosen the mounting hardware right here. There's a single screw that comes out. Let's put the table in place. Probably we'll have to change the platen, but we may be able to get by without doing it. We can. Because the platen is bent forward, come on. All right, table is mounted. Now I'm going to put let's bring camera number 1 in here close, fairly close, and I'll show you how to mount the block on the table. Okay, this is just a piece of carpet tape, and double stick carpet tape, and I'm just going to stick this right down to the table, about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch away from the sanding block. Now I'm going to, because I haven't done this particular chisel before, I'm going to go to a 150 belt, so that I'm actually going to regrind the bevel on this. All right. Now, where to put these? This is going to take some. Futzing around. I want about a 75-degree bevel right here. I won't be able to use the protractor on the table because this platen is forward. We could go to the other flat platen, but I'm just going to eyeball this, tilt this back and forth till I get the angle I'm after. That looks fairly good. Tighten it up and see what I've got. Actually, folks, it's going to be easier if I do it this way. Yes. All right, I'm going to lay the back of the chisel on and do the bevel that way. Okay, so at this point, I would turn this on. Oops. Once again, I would probably work my way up through the grits. Probably wouldn't go for the leather strop on this one because it's a scraping chisel. There's probably no need for that. But up to it about 600 grit, and there it is. The scraper is done. We're going to test this out on the next segment. We'll use it for the turning. One last thing I want to show you, and this is worth the price of admission. Let me tell you. A lot of you guys pick up. It wouldn't be a sawdust session if Nick didn't drop something at some point. A lot of you guys pick up used tools. In fact, if you're like me, you may actually prefer used tools to some of the stuff that's on the market now. There seems to be more meat in them. They're sturdier, last longer. The problem is, of course, is that once you get them, they're often covered with a thin patina of rust, maybe even a thick patina of rust, and you've got to do something in order to clean them up somehow. And here it is. Ta-da! This is a surface conditioning belt. It's like Scotch-Brite mounted on a belt that just goes round and round and round. This morning I went out into my shop and found the rustiest tool I could possibly find. This is a trowel that apparently I cleaned off very nicely at one point because there's no cement on here, but apparently didn't wipe it off or let it sit on the grass, whatever. At any rate, it's as rusty as it can get. We're going to see how this does on this machine. It's mounted just like you would the strop. for sometimes. And once again, because this is a fairly thick belt, you may have to remove a little meat from the shroud in order to run this without removing plastic as you do so. Okay. Bring this up to the, let's go for the close-up camera here. Yeah, this is much more interesting than my face, let me tell you. Look at that. As you can see, it wouldn't take me too long to get this to where I could pass it off as new. It really does a good job of conditioning the surface, and if the surface is only mildly pitted like this is, you can get it back to a nice, bright, shiny surface. Of course, you take this here. I'm just going to touch it real quick to the polishing pad. And get back there. And now, yeah, you can see. Look at that. It's starting to reflect. It's reflecting some of the studio lights. You can make old tools new again with these surface conditioning belts. It's absolutely, they're absolutely wonderful. That's it for sharpening. I'm going to get set up.